From a 25-cent cabin came a $10 million secret. An HOA queen tried to take it all, but she never expected I'd uncover a hidden fortune and turn her power against herself. The chill of a Denver apartment, filled with the stale scent of microwave dinners and the ghosts of a broken marriage, had become my constant companion. At 52, Mark Collins, a divorced plumber, felt his spirit as rusty as his old pickup truck. The only thing Jenny, my ex-wife, had left me after taking half my life. But even in the deepest troughs of despair, a flicker of hope, a lesson from my carpenter father, always resonated. Where others saw ruin, I saw potential. This is how a broke man found paradise and faced down a vindictive HOA queen. My weekend ritual involved the electric desperation of tax auctions, a world of musty courthouses and nervous investors. One Tuesday, an entry on the list seemed almost a cruel joke. Whispering Pines Cabin, 15 lakefront acres, minimum bid 25 cents. The photo showed a derelict structure, a roof collapsing, windows shattered, but my gut screamed, lakefront in Colorado, that's liquid gold. 2 hours later, winding up Highway 285, I saw it, Lake Serenity, a postcard come to life. The cabin was a wreck, yes, needing everything from electrical to a miracle, but its 1960s hand-hewn logs and solid foundation whispered stories of what could be. My measuring tape was barely out when a pristine white SUV, purring like a pampered cat, glided to a halt. Out stepped Diana Thorne, silver hair sculpted, designer boots clicking on my gravel. She clutched a clipboard as if it held divine commandments. "Excuse me," she announced, her voice dripping with the authority of a mall cop. "I'm Diana Thorne, president of the Whispering Pines Homeowners Association." I proudly brandished my tax deed, Mark Collins, new owner. Her smile froze, a chilling sight. "Oh sweetie, tax sales are cute, but they don't supersede our covenants." With a thud, a brick-thick manual landed on her chest, a weapon masquerading as a rulebook. "This structure violates 17 community standards. Demolition required." Could she be serious? I explained the cabin predated the HOA by 40 years, should be grandfathered. "Basic law. I'm sure a tradesman like you doesn't grasp legal complexities," she purred, that condescending tone rich women reserve for the help. She boasted of removing 12 non-compliant properties, her attorney's impeccable record. I felt my blood boil, on my land threatening my property, talking down to me like some uneducated fool who just fell off a turnip truck. "Lady, I bought this legally. I'm restoring it." Her smile remained, but now a predatory glint in her eyes. "Mr. Collins, you clearly don't understand how things work here. This is an exclusive community. We maintain certain standards." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a sinister whisper. "People like you usually find it easier to simply walk away. People like me." There it was, the subtle, cutting insult. Blue collar, no college, certainly not belonging in her mountain paradise. "I'll give you 72 hours to reconsider," she declared, retreating to her climate-controlled fortress. "After that, you'll discover we have very effective ways of protecting our community's interests." As her Escalade vanished in a cloud of dust and entitlement, I gripped that 25-cent receipt. A hawk cried, and the mountains seemed to hold their breath. My dad's words echoed. "Bullies only understand one language. Stand your ground." I just hadn't realized this bully had lawyers, connections, and a decade of crushing people like me. Week 1 of Operation Cabin Restoration became a masterclass in petty tyranny. Diana Thorne had a PhD in making lives miserable. Monday, as I hauled debris, her soft-bodied nephew Brandon Thorne, the HOA's compliance officer, rolled up. He looked like he'd peaked as a high school hall monitor. "You parked incorrectly," he announced, scribbling a ticket like a novelist crafting a masterpiece. "Vehicles must be parallel, not perpendicular." I stared at my truck in my own driveway. "Are you serious right now?" He ripped off the $500 fine with a sickening grin. Tuesday brought a noise citation for a circular saw at 9 a.m. Wednesday, improper waste storage. Thursday, landscaping violations for not planting petunias around a foundation I was still rebuilding. Each $500 fine, a paper cut designed to bleed me dry. But a plumber learns to find solutions, and I'd battled code enforcement for years. That weekend, in a mildew-scented county records basement, I found the beautiful truth. Whispering Pines HOA was 8 years old. My cabin? Built in 1962. My dad's old construction wisdom about buildings predating new rules, what lawyers called pre-existing non-conforming use, meant I was grandfathered in. Like being born before seatbelt laws, no retroactive compliance. Monday, at a strip mall law firm, Zoe Jenkins, a paralegal with sharp eyes and heavy student loans, called it fascinating. HOAs have limited authority over pre-existing structures. Your cabin has significant legal protections. Diana's citations, legally worthless toilet paper. But I wasn't just fighting in court. That evening, I launched Cabin Restoration Chronicles online. My first video, a time-lapse of debris removal set to classic rock, showed decades of neglect melting away. The comments exploded. "This place is going to be gorgeous. Stick it to the HOA." Pete Ramirez, the local hardware store owner, started offering discounts. "That woman's terrorized this community for years," he grumbled. About time someone stood up to her. The neighborhood was divided. Anonymous notes of support appeared on my windshield, while others suddenly found their flower beds fascinating whenever I waved. Diana's fear ran deep. Wednesday evening, a cryptic note under my wiper changed everything. "She's done this before. Check the Keller property on Maple Ridge Road." Thursday, I found a vacant lot, a Clinton-era for sale sign, and grass growing through cracked foundations where someone's home once stood. What happened to the Kellers? It couldn't have been good. Friday, my pressure washing video went viral, 50,000 views in 6 hours. Decades of grime vanished, revealing stunning craftsmanship. That evening, standing on my restored porch, golden light painting the mountains, loons calling, I told the camera, "Day 7 update. Diana thinks fines will break me, but every citation proves I'm doing something right. This cabin isn't just being restored, it's being reborn." I didn't know Diana was watching, and my growing online army was making her furious. Week 2, Monday morning, a county building inspector, Harold Fleming, a man who clearly preferred being anywhere else, slapped a work stop order on my door. "All electrical work requires permits you never applied for." I stared in disbelief. "I filed applications 3 weeks ago." "No record," he mumbled, consulting his tablet like reading his own obituary. 10 grand a day for work I was qualified to do on my own property? It felt like being fined for breathing. Later, Janice, a county clerk, found my applications misfiled in a miscellaneous folder. "Huh, that's weird," she said, adjusting glasses thick enough to spot satellites. Not as weird as Harold Fleming playing golf with Diana Thorne every Thursday, a fact proudly displayed on their country club's social media. Conflict of interest, anyone? The Keller mystery soon paid dividends. I found Robert Keller at a Durango tackle shop, shell-shocked like a veteran of suburban warfare. "Diana Thorne," he spat, a bitter laugh escaping him. "That woman's a goddamn vulture. Harassed us for 2 years. Citations, fines, mysterious permit problems." It was a surgical, relentless pattern, forcing below-market sales. Diana's husband owned Thornfield Construction, which mysteriously bought these distressed properties cheap. My uncle's divorce lawyer taught me, when someone's trying to force you out, ask who profits from your misery. Robert recounted selling his beautiful Craftsman bungalow for $60,000 to cover legal fees, only for Thornfield Construction to flip it for $300,000 6 months later. Back at the cabin, Zoe Jenkins saw Harold's work order. This inspector failed to disclose his relationship with HOA leadership. Textbook conflict of interest. We filed an ethics complaint faster than you could say community standards. Within 48 hours, Harold's order was suspended. Golf buddies don't make great legal witnesses, apparently. Meanwhile, my social media exploded like a gender reveal party gone wrong. My electrical videos striking gold with DIYers and electricians nationwide. Day 14 update. I told the camera from my half-finished kitchen, golden light illuminating dancing sawdust. They're trying to stop progress with bureaucratic garbage, but check this out. I demonstrated the new electrical panel, explaining modern breakers. The video went nuclear. 200,000 views in 24 hours, 6-figure follower count. Pete from the hardware store introduced me to Henry Wallace, a retired judge whose coffee actually tasted like coffee. Henry's sharp eyes missed nothing. "Procedural errors everywhere," he muttered, adjusting his glasses. "This inspector's work is embarrassingly sloppy. And this HOA harassment pattern? Classic property manipulation scheme." Henry offered free legal consultation, spotting enough violations to torpedo Diana's campaign. But the real game-changer was Sarah Miller, a local news reporter. "I've been following your restoration story," she said, her voice brimming with journalistic curiosity. "Mind answering some questions?" 30 minutes later, Sarah had enough for a 3-part investigative series, documenting what others had only complained about for years. That weekend, I launched a GoFundMe, help save the 25-cent cabin. Donations flooded in. $25,000 in 1 week, enough to fight Diana's legal war without ramen for a decade. Sunday evening, on my new steps, watching the mountains turn purple and gold, the distant loons calling, I checked the totals. Headlights swept my driveway. Diana's Escalade. Even in the dim light, I felt her radiating fury. Round 3 was about to get ugly. She erupted from her SUV like a designer-clad volcano, clutching a manila envelope thick enough to stop bullets, her perfume barely masking pure desperation. "Mr. Collins," she announced with soap opera flair, "I'm serving you with official fraud allegations." She thrust the envelope at me, a formal complaint claiming I'd obtained the property fraudulently, deliberately deceiving the court. Criminal investigation begins Monday, she hissed, her predatory smile stretching across her Botoxed face. Fraud carries serious penalties. Prison time, asset forfeit, everything you've built here gone. Tuesday morning, Sheriff Ramirez, a good man who looked like he'd rather wrestle alligators, served me papers. I was officially under criminal investigation for property fraud, facing potential 20-year federal sentences. The media narrative twisted. Anonymous tips flooded news stations. Cabin con man. My video comments became toxic wastelands of accusations. Diana's character assassination went nuclear. Professional flyers appeared, depicting me as a carpet-bagging criminal. The graphic design looked expensive, not grassroots. Fake online reviews carpet-bombed my plumbing business. Mark Collins is a fraud. Don't trust this criminal. My 20-year reputation destroyed in 48 hours. The harassment turned personal when someone contacted Jenny, my ex-wife, fishing for dirt. She called, sobbing, confused about reporters asking if I'd committed fraud during our marriage. "Mark, what the hell?" she cried. "They're saying you stole a cabin." My GoFundMe cratered. The internet is a beautiful, fickle beast. One day David, the next, the villain in a black hat. But as Diana tried to destroy my reputation, Henry Wallace quietly dismantled her legal foundation. Wednesday he discovered something magnificent. Diana had never properly filed the HOA's incorporation documents with the state. "This is absolutely fascinating," he declared, spreading papers across his mahogany desk. "The Whispering Pines HOA doesn't legally exist. My grandfather, a union organizer, taught my dad about fake authority. Lawyers call it ultra-vires, you're full of it, with no real authority. An unincorporated organization can't enforce rules, issue fines or file lawsuits. Every citation Diana issued, legally worthless toilet paper." The research improved. County records showed Diana's father, the original surveyor, had mapped the development in the 1980s. Historical surveys proved my cabin was never included in HOA boundaries, specifically excluded as a pre-existing lakefront parcel. Diana knew. She knew all along her phantom HOA had zero jurisdiction, but harassed me anyway, hoping I'd surrender before finding the truth. Friday brought glorious vindication. The county DA announced the fraud investigation was baseless, dismissed with prejudice. Henry's documentation proved my purchase was utterly, magnificently legal. The real momentum shift? My online army. 500,000 people watched this David versus Goliath story unfold. Cabin justice trended nationally. Local businesses displayed "We Support Mark" signs. Folks were sick of Diana's imaginary power. County officials began reviewing all HOA actions from the past decade. Other victims came forward burying Diana's credibility under an avalanche of documented abuse. That weekend, an appraiser concluded my restored lakefront property was worth $2.8 million, from 25 cents to $2.8 million in 4 months. Not bad for a divorced plumber. Sunday evening on my dock, watching the sunset paint the mountains, my phone buzzed. Sarah Miller's text. "Big story breaking tomorrow. You'll want to see this." Diana's house of cards was about to spectacularly collapse, and I had front row seats to justice. Monday morning, in the cabin's musty basement, my crowbar hit something metallic behind a loose wall panel. A rusted metal box, sealed tight as Jenny's new boyfriend's wallet. Inside, wrapped in crackling, yellowed plastic, the original 1962 property deed, hand-drawn maps, and a folder marked Mineral Rights Assessment. My hands trembled. A 1980s geological survey estimated rare earth mineral deposits worth $12 million beneath my property. Lithium, copper, gold, the holy trinity. The musty paper mixed with my nervous sweat as I read numbers that made my head spin. Everything clicked into crystalline sense. Henry Wallace's coffee mug froze. "Sweet Jesus, Mark, this completely changes the game. Mineral rights transferred with your tax sale. You own everything beneath this property." My uncle's old mining stories flooded back. "In America, you own from the center of the earth to the edge of space unless specifically excluded. Surface, subsurface, the whole geological sandwich." That afternoon, Sarah Miller's investigative bombshell detonated. Her 3-part series revealed the ugly truth. Diana's husband's construction company had filed for bankruptcy 6 months ago, drowning in $2.3 million of debt. They desperately needed cash. The twisted kicker? Diana knew about the mineral deposits all along. Her father's old surveying files contained copies of the assessment, gathering dust for decades. Her months-long harassment wasn't about HOA rules. It was pure, calculated greed, wrapped in suburban respectability. "She's been sitting on this information for years," Sarah explained, voice crackling with excitement, waiting for the perfect moment to force a sale and claim those mineral rights for herself. My 25-cent tax sale included full mineral extraction rights, potentially worth 10 times the surface value. Diana's systematic harassment now qualified as criminal conspiracy to defraud, with federal racketeering charges looming. Henry translated, "She tried stealing a winning lottery ticket by convincing you it was a worthless scratch-off. That evening, on my dock, watching the mountains glow, I faced the biggest decision of my life. A mining company offered $8 million cash. It would solve every financial problem for 3 generations. I could sell, walk away rich, and let them turn this pristine wilderness into an industrial moonscape, or choose something different. This place had healing power. I'd felt stress melt away rebuilding it. That night, I surprised everyone. Instead of selling, I announced plans for limited sustainable extraction to fund a public conservation park. 90% of the land would be permanently protected, with ecotourism cabins providing revenue. The reaction was thermonuclear. Social media exploded. Environmental groups praised it. Tourism boards projected millions. I wasn't a broke plumber anymore. I was sitting on a $10 million fortune, choosing community over greed. Diana tried to steal Fort Knox, and the vault was about to slam shut on her fingers. Tuesday morning, Henry Wallace's office became a war room, smelling of coffee and righteous fury. Maps, legal documents, a team of volunteers that would make the Avengers jealous. "We're filing a civil RICO lawsuit," Henry announced. Diana had been running a criminal enterprise disguised as community leadership. My dad's union stories about documenting every violation, building cases brick by brick, came to mind. We had years of evidence. Environmental lawyer Rebecca Evans, a fierce woman with negotiating skills of a hostage negotiator, joined pro bono. "Limited mineral extraction can fund conservation indefinitely," she explained. Local contractor Miguel Sanchez organized volunteer crews, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, rallying around one of their own. We sought treble damages under RICO, potentially $30 million. Henry filed criminal referrals with the FBI. My accountant Lisa Jensen structured a nonprofit, the 25-cent Conservation Trust. "Economic impact projections are stunning," she said. 50 permanent jobs, $5 million annually in tourism, perpetual land protection. The construction renaissance was beautiful. Every weekend, dozens of volunteers like a pioneer barn raising. Pete Ramirez's hardware store became headquarters. Sarah's investigation revealed 12 other properties Diana targeted. We established a victim support fund. My social media exploded to 1.2 million followers, watching this David versus Goliath story unfold. Daily updates mixed with legal education. The educational center took shape in my cabin, interactive displays teaching about property rights, conservation. Rebecca secured university partnerships for ecological research. Media attention intensified daily. My project became a symbol of ordinary people fighting corruption. But the sweetest revenge was Diana's empire crumbling. County officials reviewed all HOA actions. Other victims sued. Her phantom organization's lack of legal standing meant every citation was actionable fraud. Friday evening in the nearly completed visitor center, the air smelled of fresh paint and possibility. Miguel appeared, beaming. "Mark, we're ahead of schedule. Park opening next weekend." Children's laughter mixed with loon calls as sunset painted the mountains. The 25-cent cabin had become something bigger, a symbol of ordinary people refusing to let bullies win. But first, we had to finish destroying the bully. Diana's desperation reached new depths. If she couldn't steal it, she'd destroy it. Tuesday, diesel fuel and betrayal. Equipment vandalized, sugar and gas tanks, slashed tires, hydraulic lines cut with surgical precision, thousands in crippled machinery. Miguel grimly observed, "This wasn't random teenage vandalism. Someone knew exactly what they were targeting." Threats escalated. "Accidents happen. Smart people know when to quit." But our security cameras caught Brandon Thorne skulking at 2 a.m., his reflective vest glowing, sabotaging equipment with the stealth of a marching band in a library. The intimidation spread. Pete Ramirez's store windows were soap-scrawled with profanity. Miguel's truck keyed. Elderly volunteers received late-night calls, heavy breathing, vague threats. My insurance dropped me, citing terrorism risk. Property insurance doesn't cover wars with deranged suburban warlords, apparently. But while Diana played amateur terrorist, my private investigator Jerry Kowalski, an ex-cop fueled by coffee and determination, dug through her financial freefall. "Your HOA queen is financially hemorrhaging," Jerry announced, spreading documents. Her husband owed $2.3 million. Foreclosures hidden. She'd been embezzling HOA funds to pay legal fees, robbing Peter to sue Paul. Her harassment campaign was costing more than she could afford. Lawyers, consultants, saboteurs, bleeding money faster than a punctured artery. Jerry revealed her master plan. My cabin was her golden parachute to avoid bankruptcy. My 25-cent purchase had accidentally torpedoed her retirement scheme. FBI agent Rachel Foster, sharp-eyed and measured, took serious interest. Pattern crimes rarely stop with one victim, she explained, recording my 3-hour interview. Your documentation probably prevented dozens of future targets. The community rallied like villagers against a dragon. Local businesses formed alliances. Volunteer security patrolled. Crowd-funded legal defense hit $150,000. National HOA reform organizations joined. Diana hired expensive crisis firms, spinning desperate narratives about outside agitators. She pressured elderly neighbors with threats of increased fees, claiming my park would attract undesirable elements. But every fake controversy backfired, each lie highlighting her corruption. The harder she fought, the deeper her grave. My social media army reached 800,000 followers, Cabin Justice trending nationally as supporters demanded accountability. Sarah Miller's investigative series won awards, exposing HOA corruption nationwide. The ripple effect was magnificent. Sunday evening on my dock, storm clouds gathered, lightning flickered, thunder rumbled, my phone buzzed, Agent Foster's text, indictment sealed, arrest scheduled Wednesday morning, you'll want front row seats. She chose the spotlight, now she gets to burn in it. Wednesday morning justice arrived, but Diana wasn't done. Tuesday evening she showed up in a modest Honda, khakis, a Target cardigan. Mark, she said, oozing manufactured humility, I think we've both made mistakes, maybe we can work something out. She produced a briefcase, opened it to stacks of $100 bills, $500,000, counted out on my kitchen table. Cash offer, no lawyers, no hassles, you take this, I drop all legal actions. I recorded every word of her bribery attempt. When I refused, her facade cracked. $1 million, she whispered desperately, plus a written apology. Please, Mark, I'm begging you. The woman who'd called me people like you was begging the blue-collar guy she tried to crush. The irony was sweeter than my grandmother's apple pie, but her desperation spawned uglier tactics. Wednesday morning, hired protesters. Actors from Denver, $200 a day for fake outrage. Chained to equipment with flimsy chains, chanting about pristine wilderness next to a parking lot. Sheriff Ramirez, annoyed, checked IDs. Half couldn't explain their protest, 3 had warrants. Ma'am, he told the leader, you're protesting a conservation project. That's like picketing a puppy rescue. The chaos served Diana's purpose, disrupting construction, creating negative media. My social media was flooded with bot attacks, death threats, spam. Vandalism escalated to terrorism. Someone dumped toxic orange industrial paint across the cabin's exterior, requiring hazmat crews. The chemical smell burned our eyes. This crossed a federal line. FBI agent Foster arrived with a forensics team, treating my cabin like a crime scene. This escalation suggests imminent arrest, she observed. Desperate people make desperate choices. Then, the frame-up. Thursday, DEA agents surrounded my cabin. Firepower for a small country. Anonymous tip. I was manufacturing meth in the basement. The irony. They searched a cabin documented in hundreds of videos. 3 hours found only construction materials, and my coffee maker. The tip came from a burner phone registered to Diana's address, another federal crime. The raid backfired spectacularly. Media showed federal agents apologizing to me, praising my cooperation. My professionalism shone. Diana's unhinged tactics destroyed her credibility. That evening on my dock, storm clouds gathered, lightning flickered, thunder rumbled. My phone buzzed. Agent Foster, arrests tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Media will be present. She chose the spotlight. Now she gets to burn in it. Friday morning, 9 a.m. sharp, the Whispering Pines HOA meeting transformed into a public meltdown. The community center overflowed with 300 residents, national media, cameras everywhere. Diana Thorne, looking like a cornered animal, tried to play the victim, painting me as a criminal mastermind. This man, she declared, pointing at me, has destroyed our property values, brought chaos, turned our home into a tourist trap. I call for an emergency vote to dissolve this park. The crowd murmured, her allies' enthusiasm forced. I rose slowly, my chair scraping in the sudden silence. Every camera swiveled. Thank you, Mrs. Thorne, I said, my voice calm as lake serenity. Before we vote, I'd like to share some information the community deserves to know. I clicked my laptop. Henry Wallace's timeline of harassment filled the screen. Every citation, every threat, every illegal act. This isn't about community standards, I continued, advancing to Jerry Kowalski's financial records. It's about a criminal conspiracy to steal property worth $10 million. Gasps. I revealed the mineral rights, Diana's prior knowledge, her family's crushing debt, bank foreclosure notices, embezzlement evidence, the truth about her phantom HOA. Mrs. Thorne has been running an illegal organization for 8 years, I announced, watching her face drain of color. Every citation, every fine, every threat, all criminal fraud. Diana shot to her feet. These are lies. Fabricated evidence. This criminal has bribed officials. Just then the doors burst open. FBI agent Rachel Foster strode in, flanked by federal marshals. "Diana Thorne," Agent Foster announced, her voice cutting through the chaos. "You're under arrest for fraud, extortion, embezzlement, and racketeering." Handcuffs clicked. Diana's face cycled through shock, rage, resignation. Her nephew Brandon tried to sneak out but faced another marshal. "Brandon Thorne, you're under arrest for vandalism, witness intimidation, and conspiracy." The crowd erupted. Cheers, stunned silence. Phones documented her spectacular downfall. As she was led away, her designer outfit seemed ridiculous against orange jail accessories. "Before they take me away," I called out, "I want everyone to know something important." The room quieted. My final slides appeared. Park development plans, job creation, community benefits. The 25-cent Conservation Trust will provide 50 permanent jobs, fund local schools, create Colorado's first sustainable mineral extraction program. Property values will increase 20%, not decrease. Mrs. Thorne tried to steal this from all of us. A slow standing ovation built into an avalanche of tears, hugs, and celebration. Sheriff Ramirez shook my hand. "Mark, on behalf of this community, thank you for not backing down." Diana's arrest footage went viral. 2.3 million views in hours. I stood there, surrounded by neighbors who became friends, watching justice triumph. The 25-cent cabin cost one woman her freedom and gave an entire community hope. Sometimes, the best revenge is building something beautiful from the ashes of someone else's greed. 6 months later, on that same dock, my 25-cent dream had transformed. Whispering Pines Park opened to 5,000 visitors, a crisp October morning smelling of apple cider and fresh starts. Families explored trails, children's laughter echoed, parents captured perfect mountain reflections. My cabin, now the educational center, hosted workshops on property rights and legal self-defense. Last weekend, 200 people learned to fight HOA abuse. The irony, lessons in battling corruption taught from a building someone tried to steal. Local businesses reported 40% revenue increases, new restaurants, hotels. Pete Ramirez hired 4 employees. Economic prosperity flowed like mountain streams. My plumbing business evolved into historic restoration specialists, a waiting list longer than Colorado winters. People loved hiring the guy who fought the system and won. And the sweetest victory? I wasn't alone. Sarah Miller, investigative journalism and home restoration, a perfect partnership. She moved in, coffee obsession and all. "We're planning a lakeside wedding next spring, the world's first reception in a visitor center built from stubbornness and righteous fury." Justice was swift. Diana received 8 years federal prison, $15 million restitution. Brandon got probation, picking trash along trails he once sabotaged. Karma wears hiking boots. 12 families received settlement payments. The phantom HOA dissolved, replaced by a voluntary association that served residents. The 25-cent Conservation Trust became a national model, proving conservation and economics could dance beautifully. Our annual Mountain Heritage Festival, scholarships for trades and environmental science, free camping for veterans. Watching former soldiers find peace by the lake, where I found my own healing, reminded me some victories transcend money. The documentary 25 Cents to Freedom won awards, inspiring similar fights nationwide. Dozens of emails weekly from people using our strategies against their own clipboard tyrants. The cabin, a shrine to persistence. My framed tax receipt, a reminder, small actions change everything. Most evenings on my dock, watching impossible colors paint the mountains, breathing air of pine and possibility. Gentle waves, loon calls, aspen leaves rustling. Monthly potlucks at the visitor center, neighbors sharing pie, children playing. These moments, watching families laugh in a place that almost became another corporate victim, reminded me what we fought for. Sarah often joins me, her laptop on the railing. "What should we investigate next?" she asks, eyes sparkling. The answer always comes from you, our amazing community. Share your worst HOA nightmare. I read every one. Sarah's already on corrupt property management companies preying on seniors. Subscribe to HOA Stories if you love watching justice demolish petty tyrants. Hit that notification bell. Next week I'm revealing how my neighbor tried stealing my driveway and ended up owing me his fence. Welcome to HOA Stories, where David always beats Goliath. Smash that like button, share your thoughts and subscribe for more outrageous neighborhood showdowns.